The message arrived on Earth at exactly midnight. It came through the Galactic Communication Network, a system that connected thousands of worlds across the stars. The message was simple and cold. Humanity was being summoned to the Galactic Council station called Eternal Accord. They had 30 days to send their representatives. There was no request. It was an order. Park read the message 3 times in his small office in Seoul. He was 52 years old, with gray hair at his temples and calm eyes that rarely showed emotion. He had spent his youth as a military strategist, planning battles and studying enemies. But 20 years ago, he had put down his weapons and picked up words instead. He became a diplomat, and he was very good at it. The phone on his desk rang. It was the president of the United Earth Federation. "You've seen the message," the president said. It was not a question. "I have," Park replied. "They want our colonies in the Orion sector. The and the are both claiming that space. They expect us to surrender everything." Park was quiet for a moment. The Orion sector had taken humanity 60 years to settle. Millions of people lived there now. Farms, cities, hospitals, schools. They could not simply abandon all of it. "I will go," he said finally. "I will need to choose my team." 3 weeks later, a small human ship approached the Eternal Accord. The station was massive, larger than Earth's moon. It was built from white metal and blue crystal, floating in the darkness of space like a frozen palace. Thousands of ships surrounded it, coming from dozens of different worlds. The human ship looked tiny among them, like a small fish swimming with whales. Inside the ship, pressed her face against the window. She was 28 years old with short black hair and quick, intelligent eyes. She was a cultural analyst, trained to study alien species and understand how they thought. This was her first real mission, and her heart was beating fast. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It's meant to scare us," said Lee from behind her. He was the security chief, a tall man with broad shoulders and a serious face. He had served in the military for 15 years before joining the diplomatic corps. His job was to keep the team safe, and he took that job very seriously. Park sat in the center of the cabin, reviewing documents on his tablet. Beside him was a woman in her 40s with glasses and a quiet voice. She was a legal specialist who had memorized every treaty and law in the Galactic Council's history. She rarely spoke, but when she did, every word mattered. "Remember," Park said without looking up, "they expect us to be afraid. They expect us to beg. We will do neither." The ship docked at the station and the 4 humans stepped out into a vast hallway. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually floated near the top. Alien species of all shapes and sizes walked past them, some tall and thin, some short and round, some covered in fur, some covered in scales. None of them looked at the humans. They were beneath notice. A floating drone approached them. It spoke in a mechanical voice. "Human delegation, you will follow this unit to your quarters. The council session begins tomorrow. You will present yourselves at the Grand Negotiation Chamber at the 9th hour." The drone turned and floated away. The humans followed. Their quarters were small and simple, clearly designed for a species that the council did not respect. Notice that the rooms given to other delegations were much larger. She saw the delegation entering a suite that was bigger than a palace. They had an entire floor to themselves. "They're already trying to show us our place," she said. "Let them," Park replied. "The size of a room does not determine the size of a mind." That night Park could not sleep. He stood by the window looking out at the stars. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people who were counting on him. He thought about the colonies in the Orion sector, about the families who had built their lives there. He could not fail them. There was a knock at his door. It was. "I found something," she said, entering the room with her tablet. In the old council laws, there is a provision for developing species. It says that any species that has been part of galactic society for less than 500 years has the right to formal negotiation before any territorial decision is made. Park looked at her. The Council has forgotten this law. They have ignored it for thousands of years. No young species has ever been brave enough to demand it. A small smile crossed Park's face. Then we will remind them. The next morning, the human delegation walked into the grand negotiation chamber. The room was enormous, filled with representatives from the 12 elder species of the Galactic Council. At the center was a raised platform where the speakers would stand. Above them, floating in the air, were the High Arbiters who would judge the proceedings. High Arbiter of the Collective looked down at the humans with his many eyes. He was a creature, with a hard shell and clicking mandibles. He spoke through a translator drone that floated beside him. "The humans have arrived," he announced. "Let us proceed quickly. This matter should be simple." Warlord of the Empire stood on the opposite side of the chamber. He was a massive reptilian creature, covered in green scales, with teeth like knives. He crossed his arms and stared at the humans with obvious contempt. "These soft creatures dare to claim space that belongs to the," he growled. "They should surrender now and save themselves the humiliation." Laughter echoed through the chamber. The other species found the situation amusing. These tiny humans thought they could stand against the great powers of the galaxy. Park walked to the central platform. He moved slowly, calmly, as if he had all the time in the universe. He looked up at the High Arbiters, then around at the gathered delegates. He did not show fear. He did not show anger. He showed nothing at all. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he said, his voice clear and steady, "I thank you for this opportunity to speak. However, before we proceed, I must invoke Article 7, Section 23 of the original Council Charter. As a developing species, humanity has the right to formal negotiation before any territorial decision is made." Silence fell over the chamber. High Arbiter's mandibles clicked in surprise. Warlord's eyes narrowed. "How do you know of this law?" demanded. Park smiled politely. "We read your history, Arbiter, all of it." For the first time, the aliens in the chamber looked at the humans with something other than amusement. It was the beginning of something they had not expected. It was the beginning of respect. The grand negotiation chamber remained silent for a long moment after Park's words. The alien delegates looked at each other with confusion. No young species had ever quoted council law before. Most of them did not even know such laws existed. High Arbiter recovered first. His translator drone hummed as he spoke. "Very well, human. You have invoked your right to formal negotiation, but do not think this changes anything. The Collective has claimed the Orion sector for biological reasons. Our hive requires the silicon deposits found on those worlds. Without them, our reproduction will suffer. This is not politics. This is survival." From the other side of the chamber, Warlord stepped forward. His heavy feet shook the floor with each step. "And the Empire has claimed that sector by right of strength. We discovered those systems first. We mapped them. We marked them as ours. Then the humans came like thieves in the night and built their little colonies on our land." He turned to face Park directly. "You have 30 million people in the Orion sector, human. We have 200 warships in orbit above your main colony right now. Choose your next words carefully." Felt her heart stop. 200 warships. That was enough firepower to destroy every human settlement in the sector within hours. She looked at Park, waiting for him to show fear. He did not. "Warlord," Park said calmly, "I thank you for your honesty about your military position. Now let me share ours." He turned to who stepped forward with her tablet. "Honored delegates," began, her quiet voice somehow filling the chamber. "Before we discuss territory, I would like to present some information about humanity's history with negotiation." She pressed a button, and holographic images appeared in the air above them. They showed Earth at different points in history. 400 years ago, humanity was a single planet divided into hundreds of nations. We fought wars constantly. We killed millions of our own kind. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. The images shifted, showing conferences, meetings, treaties being signed. But we learned. We learned that war is expensive. We learned that conflict destroys more than it creates. We learned that the greatest victories come not from weapons but from words. Today, Earth is united. We have not had a major war among ourselves for 3 centuries. Looked around the chamber. Humanity has signed over 2,000 peace treaties with ourselves. We have resolved conflicts between nations, religions, cultures, and ideologies that hated each other for generations. We are here not to fight you, but to show you what we have learned. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. This was not what they had expected. They had expected the humans to cry, to beg, to offer surrender. Instead, the humans were lecturing them about peace. "Words are meaningless," Warlord growled. "Power is the only language the universe understands." Park nodded respectfully. "I understand your position, Warlord. Let me ask you a question. How many wars has the Empire fought in the last 1,000 years?" His chest swelled with pride. 47 glorious campaigns. "And how many of those resulted in permanent peace?" The warlord paused. His eyes flickered with uncertainty. "How many of your enemies remain enemies, Warlord? How many conquered peoples wait for the moment to rebel? How many resources do you spend on occupation instead of development?" His claws tightened, but he did not answer. Park turned to High Arbiter. "And the collective? You mentioned that you need silicon for your reproduction. May I ask why you have not simply traded for it? The galaxy is full of silicon-rich worlds that are not claimed by anyone." His mandibles clicked rapidly. "Trade is inefficient. It requires negotiation. It requires trust. It is easier to take what we need." "Easier," Park agreed, "but not better. Tell me, Arbiter, how many species have they made permanent enemies of through taking what you need? How many potential trading partners now refuse to deal with you? How much has your easy approach cost you in the long run?" The chamber was very quiet now. Notice that some of the junior delegates from other species were nodding slightly. They understood what Park was saying, even if their leaders did not. Park smiled gently. "Humanity is not here to fight. We are not here to surrender either. We are here to find a solution that benefits everyone. That is what negotiation means." He gestured to, who stepped forward with her own presentation. "While traveling to this station," she said, "we made contact with 3 neutral species outside the Council: the traders, the fossil engineers, and the gentle gardeners. They have all agreed to establish trade relations with humanity." The holographic display showed contracts, agreements, trade routes. The control 40% of the rare mineral trade in this sector of the galaxy. The fossil build the best ships outside of Council space. The gentle produce food for over 200 worlds. These relationships are now connected to Earth. Any attack on human colonies would disrupt these trade networks. For the first time, real worry appeared on Warlord's face. Trade with the neutral species was important to their empire depended on imported food. You dare to threaten us with economics," he sputtered. "Not a threat," said sweetly. "Just information. We believe in sharing information openly. It helps everyone make better decisions." High Arbiter leaned forward, his many eyes studying the humans with new interest. "You are more prepared than we expected, humans. Perhaps there is value in continuing these discussions." Park bowed his head slightly. "That is all we ask, Arbiter. A chance to talk, a chance to understand each other, a chance to find a path that does not lead to war." Warlord snorted with frustration, but he did not object when called for a recess. The first session was over, and the humans had not won anything yet, but they had done something more important. They had made the aliens listen. As they walked back to their quarters, Lee walked beside Park. "That was impressive," the security chief said quietly, "but is humiliated. Humiliated leaders are dangerous. We should expect retaliation." Park nodded. "I know, stay alert. The real negotiation is just beginning." Negotiations continued for 3 long days. Each morning, the delegations gathered in the Grand Chamber. Each afternoon, they met in smaller rooms for private discussions. Each night, the humans worked until exhaustion, preparing for the next day. Park understood something that most species in the galaxy did not. Negotiation was not about winning. It was about understanding. If you truly understood what your opponent wanted, you could find ways to give it to them without losing what you needed. On the second day, he requested a private meeting with High Arbiter. The leader agreed, though he seemed confused by the request. They met in a small chamber designed for species. The walls were covered with a strange substance that made soft clicking sounds, like the inside of a hive. "What do you want, human?" asked. His translator drone floated between them. Park sat down, making himself smaller, less threatening. "I want to understand you, Arbiter. In the public chamber, you speak about biological needs and survival, but I sense there is more to your claim on the Orion sector than just silicon." Many eyes blinked in surprise. No one had ever asked him such a question before. "They do not share our internal matters with outsiders." "I am not asking as an outsider," Park said gently. "I am asking as someone who wants to help. The Council sees us as enemies fighting over territory, but perhaps we do not have to be enemies at all." There was a long silence. Then slowly, his hard shell seemed to relax. "They are dying, human." Park leaned forward, listening carefully. "Our population has been declining for 3,000 years. Our queens produce fewer eggs each generation. The silicon is not just useful for reproduction. It is essential. Without it, within 10 generations, the collective will cease to exist." Park felt genuine sympathy wash over him. This was not about territory or power. This was about survival. "Why have you not told the Council this?" "Weakness invites attack," said bitterly. "If the other species knew how desperate we are, they would take advantage. They would certainly try to conquer us." Park nodded slowly. "I understand. But Arbiter, what if there was another way? What if humanity could help you get the silicon you need without war, without revealing your weakness to others?" His mandibles clicked with interest. "How?" "The human colonies in the Orion sector mine silicon for our own technology. We do not need all of it. We could establish a private trade agreement. Officially, we would sell you construction materials. Unofficially, those materials would contain the silicon your queens need. No one else would know." For a long moment, simply stared at Park with his many eyes. "Why would you do this for us? We threaten to take your colonies by force." Park smiled. "Because helping you costs us little and gains us much. Today we solve your problem. Tomorrow, perhaps, you remember that humans can be trusted. That is worth more than any territory." Meanwhile, was having a very different kind of conversation. She had noticed that the junior diplomats from various species often gathered in a recreation area during breaks. They were young, curious, and less bound by the prejudices of their elders. She decided to join them. At first they ignored her. Humans were beneath notice, but had prepared for this. She pulled out a small device and played music. It was a traditional Korean song, slow and beautiful, filled with emotion. The aliens stopped their conversations and listened. "What is that sound?" asked a young worker. "It is music," said. "Humans create sounds that make us feel things. This song is about missing someone you love." A junior officer laughed. "They have battle songs. We sing them before combat to frighten our enemies." "We have those too," said. She changed the music to something more powerful, drums beating, voices rising. "This is called rock music. We play it when we want to feel strong." Thus eyes widened. He had not expected humans to understand strength. Spent the next hour sharing human art, stories, and culture with the junior delegates. She showed them paintings that made them feel peaceful, poems that made them think, and comedies that made them laugh. Most of them had never laughed at human humor before. "Your species is strange," a young fossil diplomat said. "You fight each other, but you also create beautiful things together. You are weak individually, but strong when united. We do not understand you." "That is the point," said with a smile. "We are worth understanding." On the third night, Lee saved Park's life. The security chief had noticed suspicious activity near the human quarters. Two soldiers were moving through the shadows, carrying weapons that were not standard issue. Lee intercepted them in a corridor, alone. "You are in a restricted area," he said calmly. The soldiers towered over him. Each of them was twice his size, covered in scales and muscle. "Move aside, human," one of them growled. "We have business with your ambassador." "No," Lee said. The first soldier attacked with a roar. Lee moved like water, stepping aside, using the soldier's own weight against him. They crashed into the wall. The second soldier pulled his weapon, but Lee was faster. He disarmed the soldier with a precise strike and pinned him to the ground. "Listen carefully," Lee said quietly. "I have disabled two soldiers twice my size without killing anyone. This is a gift. I could have killed you both. I chose not to. Go back to Warlord and tell him that humans do not want war, but we are not afraid of it either." He released the soldier and walked away. The next morning, Park presented his proposal to the full council. "Humanity proposes a three-way agreement," he announced. "First, the collective will receive priority trade access to silicon from human colonies at fair prices. Second, the Empire will receive navigation rights through the Orion sector, reducing their trade routes by 30%. Third, humanity will retain sovereignty over our existing colonies, but will share the sector's mineral surveys with both parties." He paused, looking around the chamber. "Everyone gains something. No one loses everything. This is how peace is built." High Arbiter spoke first. "The collective finds this proposal acceptable." All eyes turned to Warlord. His jaw was tight, his claws clenched. Two of his soldiers had reported their failure last night. They had also reported something else. The human security officer had shown mercy. Slowly nodded. "The will consider this proposal." It was not agreement, but it was not rejection either. Park bowed. "Thank you, Warlord. Take all the time you need." For the first time since the negotiations began, there was real hope for peace. The alarm came without warning. It was the morning of the fourth day, and Park was preparing for another session in the Grand Chamber. Suddenly, red lights began flashing throughout the station. A voice echoed through every corridor. "Emergency! Emergency! Unknown hostile fleet detected. All delegations remain in your quarters. Station defense activated." Rushed to the window. Outside, in the darkness of space, she saw something terrifying. Ships were appearing out of nowhere, dozens of them, then hundreds. They were unlike anything she had ever seen. Black vessels covered with strange symbols, moving in perfect formation like a single creature with many bodies. "Who are they?" she whispered. Lee was already checking his equipment. "Unknown species, not in any database. Those weapons look serious." Park's mind raced. The Eternal Accord was a diplomatic station, not a military base. It had some defenses, but nothing that could stop a fleet that size. "We need to get to the council chamber," he said. "The announcement said to stay in our quarters," pointed out. "If we stay here, we have no information and no influence. Whatever happens next, I want us to be part of it." They made their way through corridors filled with panicking aliens. Species that had been proud and powerful hours ago were now running in fear. The workers were crawling over the walls, trying to find hiding places. Even some soldiers looked uncertain. The Grand Chamber was in chaos. High Arbiter was screaming orders at his drones, but no one was listening. Warlord was shouting into a communication device, demanding that his fleet in the Orion sector come immediately. Other delegates were arguing among themselves, blaming each other for this attack. "This is your fault," a delegate from the Trade Coalition screamed at. "Your aggressive expansion brought these attackers to our door." "Silence, merchant," roared back. "The do not answer to cowards who hide behind money." Park watched the chaos for a moment. Then he walked to the central platform and raised his voice. "Enough." The word cut through the noise like a blade. Everyone stopped and turned to look at the human. "We do not have time for blame," Park said firmly. "Those ships out there do not care about our arguments. They do not care who is right or wrong. They are here to destroy us, all of us, unless we work together." "Work together," a delegate laughed nervously. "With species we were threatening war against yesterday." "Yes," Park said simply. "That is exactly what we must do." He turned to, "Warlord, your fleet is hours away, but you have soldiers here on the station. How many?" Hesitated, then answered, 800 warriors." "Good, we need them to protect the civilian areas. There are thousands of workers, diplomats, and families on this station. They need guards." Before could object, Park turned to, "Arbiter, they are builders. Your workers constructed half of this station. You know its structure better than anyone. We need them to identify weak points and strengthen our defenses." His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "This is possible." Park pointed to other delegates. "The Trade Coalition has supply ships with medical equipment. Start setting up emergency centers. The fossil engineers can help repair any damage to the station's systems. The Mining Guild has excavation lasers that can be converted to weapons." One by one, he assigned tasks to every species in the chamber. He did not ask permission. He did not wait for agreement. He simply told them what needed to be done, and somehow they listened. Was assigned to communications. She moved through the station with a team of junior delegates, the same young aliens she had shared music with days ago. They set up a translation network so that every species could understand orders in real time. "They say the Western Corridor is secure," a young reported. "The fossil have restored power to the shield generators," another voice added. "Relayed everything to the command center, keeping information flowing like blood through a body." Lee led a mixed security team through the outer sections of the station. He had warriors on his left, workers on his right, and beings from 5 other species behind him. None of them had ever fought together before, but Lee trained them in minutes. "You are strongest," he told them. "You hold the front line. You can climb walls, watch from above and warn us of attacks. Everyone else support where needed. Stay calm, follow orders. We survive this together or not at all." The first attack came 20 minutes later. Small enemy craft broke through the station's outer shields and attached to the hull. Soldiers poured out, creatures made of metal and flesh, their bodies twisted in ways that seemed impossible. Lee's team met them at Corridor 7. The fighting was brutal. The enemy soldiers felt no pain and showed no mercy, but the mixed team held together. When a fell, a worker pulled him to safety. When an enemy broke through the line, 3 different species attacked it from 3 different directions. "Push them back," Lee shouted. "Don't let them reach the civilian areas." After an hour of fighting the enemy, the corridor was damaged but defended. Lee looked at his team, and former enemies were helping each other stand. "You fought well," his voice came through the communication system. The warlord had been watching the battle from the command center. "All of you fought well." In the Grand Chamber, worked on something that would have taken normal diplomats years. She was writing an emergency mutual defense agreement. This document states that for the duration of this crisis, all council species agree to work together against the common enemy. No species will take advantage of another's weakness. All resources will be shared. All victories will be shared. She looked up at the gathered delegates. Sign it. One by one, they did. And Trade Coalition and Mining Guild, species that had been bitter enemies for centuries, put their marks on the same document. 3 hours later, the enemy fleet retreated. They had tested the station's defenses and found them stronger than expected. The unified response had confused them. They had expected chaos, division, easy targets. Instead, they found a station full of species fighting as one. When the last enemy ship disappeared into the darkness, the grand chamber erupted in cheers. Aliens who had never touched each other before were embracing. Warriors clasped arms with workers. Trade coalition merchants thanked mining guild laborers. In the middle of it all, Park stood quietly. High Arbiter approached him. "Human," he said, "you did something today that no one has done in 10,000 years of Council history. You made us work together." Warlord joined them, his armor dented and scratched from overseeing the defense. "I have fought many battles," he said slowly. "I have never seen anything like what your people did today. Your security chief led warriors from 10 species. Your translator kept us all connected. Your legal specialist united us with a document." He paused. "And you gave orders to the entire council and we obeyed." Park bowed his head. "I gave suggestions. You all made the choice to follow them." "That is what makes it remarkable," said. "You did not force us. You showed us a better way and we chose it freely." Outside the station, the stars were quiet again, but everything had changed. 1 month passed. The Eternal Accord had been repaired. The unknown enemy had not returned, though patrols now watched the borders of Council space constantly. But more important than any repair or patrol was the change that had happened inside the station. The grand negotiation chamber looked different today. The seats were arranged in a circle instead of opposing sides. The platform in the center was gone, replaced by a round table where all species could sit as equals. Park entered the chamber with his team, walked beside him, wearing a new badge that marked her as a cultural ambassador. Lee came next, now officially recognized as a joint security advisor to the council. Followed, carrying a document that she had spent the last month preparing. The delegates rose as the humans entered. This had never happened before. Young species were supposed to bow to elder species, not the other way around. High Arbiter spoke first. "1 month ago, humanity came to this station as a minor species with no voice and no power. You came to defend your colonies against 2 empires that wanted to take them. Today, you sit among us as something else entirely." He turned to face the chamber. "During the crisis, I watched the human ambassador take command of this station without violence, without threats, without demanding anything for himself. I watched their translator bridge gaps between species that had not spoken peacefully in centuries. I watched their security chief lead warriors who had been enemies into battle as brothers. I watched their legal specialist create an agreement that saved us all." Many eyes focused on Park. "The collective formally apologizes for threatening humanity's colonies. We withdraw all claims to the Orion sector." A murmur ran through the chamber. This was unprecedented. The never apologized. "Furthermore," continued, "the collective proposes a permanent partnership with humanity. We will trade fairly, share technology, and support each other in times of need." Park bowed respectfully. "They honor us with this offer. Humanity accepts." Warlord stood next. He looked uncomfortable, as if the words he was about to say caused him physical pain. "They are a warrior species," he said. "We believe in strength. We believe that the weak serve the strong and the strong take what they want. This has been our way for 20,000 years." He paused, his clawed hands gripping the table. "But I have seen something in the past month that I cannot ignore. During the attack, my warriors were saved by species they had conquered. They fought beside people they had called inferior. And they won. not because they were strongest alone, but because they were part of something stronger together. Looked directly at Park. The human security chief, Lee, defeated 2 of my soldiers without weapons. He could have killed them. He chose mercy instead. He then led my warriors in battle and treated them with honor. This is a kind of strength they do not understand, but we wish to learn. Lee nodded silently, his face showing no emotion, but noticed his hands relax slightly. The Empire also withdraws all claims to the Orion sector, announced. We propose a military alliance with humanity. Together, we will be stronger than apart. More murmurs filled the chamber. They had never proposed an alliance with anyone. They only conquered or ignored. Park stood and addressed the entire council. Honored delegates, humanity is grateful for these offers, but I want to be clear about something. We did not come to this station seeking power. We did not save this station expecting rewards. We did what we did because it was right, because working together is better than fighting apart, because every life on this station mattered, regardless of species. He looked around the circle, meeting the eyes of every delegate. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We want to be part of it. We want to share what we know, learn what we do not, and build a future where all species can thrive. That is our purpose. That is our strength. Stepped forward with her document. This is a proposal for a new council charter, she said. It includes the original protections for developing species that have been ignored for. It includes new provisions for peaceful negotiation before any territorial dispute. It includes requirements for mutual defense against external threats, and it includes a permanent seat for humanity on the Galactic Council. The chamber was silent. A permanent seat meant full membership, full voting rights, full equality with species that had been in space for 100 times longer than humans. High Arbiter examined the document carefully. Then he looked up. The support this proposal, added. One by one, the other delegates voiced their support. Trade coalition, mining guild, fossil engineers, every species in the chamber. When the vote was called, it was unanimous. Humanity was now a full member of the Galactic Council. After the session, stood by the window looking out at the stars. Park joined her. We did it, she said quietly. We actually did it. You did it, Park corrected. All of you, I just talked. You built bridges with the young delegates, proved that strength and mercy can exist together, found the laws and wrote the treaties. This was a team victory. Smiled, is that another negotiation technique, making others feel valued? No, Park said, that is just the truth. A communication device beeped. Park answered it. Ambassador Park, this is the Council Communication Center. We have received a message from a species called the. They are being summoned to the Council for territorial negotiations. They have heard about what humanity did here. They are asking if humans can advise them. Park looked at, she looked back, her eyes bright. A young species, facing the same situation we faced a month ago, she said. They want our help. Park thought about his journey. He remembered arriving at the station as a representative of a species that no one respected. He remembered the laughter when he invoked the old law. He remembered the crisis that changed everything. He had never wanted to be a leader of the galaxy. He had only wanted to protect his people. But sometimes, leadership found you whether you wanted it or not. Tell them, Park said into the device, that humanity will send advisors. Tell them that they are not alone. Tell them that we will show them what we learned. He paused, looking out at the endless stars. Tell them that the galaxy is changing, and they can be part of that change. He closed the device and turned to his team. Lee stood ready as always, was already preparing documents for the new mission, was smiling, ready for the next adventure. Well, Park said, it seems our work is not finished. It never will be, replied. That's the thing about diplomacy. There's always another conversation to have. Park smiled. Then let's have it. They walked together toward the docking bay. Four humans who had changed the galaxy not with weapons or threats, but with the oldest and most powerful tool their species had ever developed. Words.